So I've been working in prisons and organising events inside of prisons and outside of prisons, literature festivals outside of prisons for about 15 years, when I thought it would be a great idea to combine the two things and have a literary festival in a prison. And for a while I tried to get people interested in that idea. Wouldn't it be a great idea? You do literature festivals, why don't you do it in a prison? And people thought it was a great idea, but nobody wanted to do it. So I decided that I would have to do it. I've been working on and off in prisons for about 20 years. So therefore I would know how to do this. I would know the territory. I was convinced that I did, or I thought I did. And my first book group in a prison, 20 years ago, I remember very excited and trying to get the men to debate the book, discuss the merits of the book. And one of the guys said to me, "The thing is, David, you want us to think. And really, what I want to do is go into the prison library, get my 4 books out and go and sit on my bunk bed and read the day away." I realised how important and how powerful reading is to people in prison. Reading can both kill time and it can also allow you to reclaim time for yourself. So, the festivals. Penned Up started in 2015 in HMP Lewis. The name Penned Up came from our very first committee with the prisoners. We've now run 6 festivals in 3 very different prisons. Lewis, Downview, which is a women's prison, and Ulster, which is just down the road. I'm not claiming that the idea of a literary festival in a prison is totally new, but Penned Up is unique. Some literary festivals have taken authors into prisons, and some people have done one-off author events inside prisons. But Penned Up, I wanted the prisoners to have the choice on the authors and speakers that they had and who they invited. More than that, they would do the invitations. They would write the letters. I wanted them to be involved in every step of this festival, so it was something that they were part of rather than something that was done to them. I wanted it to feel like a festival, which means it would disrupt the prison regime. Prisons don't like disruption. They really don't. And often prisoners don't like disruption. If every day is the same, time is kept at bay. I couldn't do this alone, so I invited a colleague of mine, Mark Hewitt, to be my co-director, and together we started to put together the Penned Up festivals. Why a festival? Because any festival, for its brief existence, it dissolves the normal timetable of the day. It dissolves the structure that we gear our day around, the regime in terms of a prison, and it doesn't fit into the usual timetable. So therefore, people in the prison who go to the festival, they can't go to everything. Therefore, they have to make choices. Why literature? Well, one of the reasons is authors don't bring much kit with them. There's not much tech, and prison really hates tech. Okay, it's hassled, getting anything. People come in and go like, "Oh, I'm going to bring my, great PowerPoint presentation." Please don't. Please don't, because I can't guarantee a screen, I can't guarantee a laptop. Please just come in and talk. And the events I love most are the ones that capture that clarity and honesty that you get as a reader when you read the book. When there's nothing between the audience and the speaker. Who do we invite to Penned Up? Well, the committee decide. Generally, they will never have seen or been to an author event except the ones that they've gone to in prison. It's not about inviting authors who've got a new book to flog. It's not about the usual literary circuit. Nobody in prison can buy a book. There is no cash in prison. Now, they might have read the books in the prison library. There are some fantastic prison libraries. So sometimes members of the committee, they're fans of a particular author. Sometimes they think that person has got something to say. Prison is an isolated world, cut-off world. there's no internet, there's limited TV, there's no social media, so the same ideas go around and around. And actually, it's the new ideas, the new things that happen that are catalysts for change for all of us. It has to be said, there are a few raised eyebrows amongst prison staff when I say, great, we're going to bring in 20, 25 new people into your prison, and some of them have already served time in prisons. Because a lot of the prisoners in the committee, they want to see people who've been in prison, who've gone on to be writers and artists, who've done really well for themselves. They want them to come back and talk to inspire them. We often invite people who've overcome something, a sense of overcoming. But we also invite people, people in who would be inspirational and interesting. So most people in the prison will not have read the book that any author's got before the talk. If they might ask, if they really like the author, they'll ask for the book from the library afterwards. And in many ways, it's the inversion, it's the opposite of your traditional literary festival, which you've all been to, I presume. We've read the book, we really like the author, so we go and see what they really like. It's kind of the opposite in prison. They go and see what they really like, and if they like them, they might go and get the book. And that gives what I hadn't really expected to find in prison, an honesty between the audience and the speaker. That people give a very honest reaction to the authors and to the books because there's no mediation in between that. And the other reason that literature works so well in prison is that people in prison spend an awful lot of time in their heads. Nobody, apart from prisoners and writers, spends so much time analysing both themselves and those around them, trying to tease out the quirks of human activity. What makes human beings tick? Good writing can reach you. Reading about something often makes you more aware of what is going on inside yourself. In prison and outside prison, we've all constructed versions of ourselves that we put on show. They're read by other people. Prison is a very intense environment where those characteristics are kind of hammered at. They're examined again and again. As a prisoner, it's very hard to get away from yourself and that version of yourself that you have constructed. It's got to hold true for you. It's going to be looked at again and again by your fellow prisoners, by the staff, by everybody else around you. So how does it work in the Pendant Festival? So one thing is, I meet the speakers at the gate and I bring them into the prison, which is kind of like going into a different world. You have to leave all the modern accoutrements of life. Your phone, cigarettes, headphones, chewing gum, anything sharp, anything electronic. It's all left at the gate. And there's this short walk to the event space. But it won't be a short walk because there's at least 4 gates you'll have to go through to get to that event space. Each gate will have to be unlocked, locked, and rattled again to make sure it actually is locked. And then you move on, and nobody walks fast in prison. Now, when I first told my friends, I'm going to take authors into prison for this festival, everybody made the joke about captive audience. That'll be easy, won't it? They'll be grateful for anybody to come in and see them. It's not true. The way you get by in prison is by having a routine that gets you through each day and each night, and you do not detour from that routine. That routine keeps you safe and makes sure that you are not aware of where you are not, of what you are missing. Breaks in routine make you very aware of where you are. Each day, an hour of the calendar. For people on short sentences, sometimes they'll come to the events because they're bored. People on long sentences who've invested an awful lot of time in the routine that's getting them through each week, each month, each year. It asks a lot of them to break that routine. Each Pendant Festival committee is made up of staff and prisoners, mainly prisoners. And and we all get a say in who is invited, and we all get to write the letters to people, because it is big on letter writing, because nobody's emailing out of prison. And it's then when people get a kind of response from a writer or a speaker, they are so chuffed that it's them that have brought that speaker into the prison. It's also when you realize what a little bubble everybody lives in, when they'll suggest somebody and I'll go, so who's that? And they'll say, Dave, you said you read a lot and you don't know this person. What do you know about reading? I'll go, yeah, all right, okay, I need to find out. So it expands my knowledge at the same time as I am also trying to help them broaden their knowledge of authors and readings. It's really important when they get that person in. They feel special. It's their letter that's brought them in, and it means they're not invisible. They're not forgotten. Now, people in prison come to events because they're interested. It's one thing to get people into the event. It's another thing to hold them there and hold their engagement. They are not going to sit politely through some author telling you how wonderful their novel is. They aren't. The speaker's going to have to hold the room. The event is going to have to be good. You can tell immediately when the emotion in the room goes flat. Even those of us who do not spend a night in prison, you can pick up the vibe in prison quite easily. It's a very intense atmosphere. Every emotion in prison is magnified. And that's what you pick up, and that's what makes the event work or not work. So, example, when Jimmy McGovern came into Pendle at Ulster, and he comes into the room, and he sat down, people were interested, they've heard his name. He's a TV writer, we've all watched TV, we've all seen Cracker, he's going to be good. They've heard of him. And so they're all sitting there waiting for a little trip down TV memory lane. And then Jimmy just leans forward and says, but do you want to hear the real story behind Hillsborough? And the room goes, it's so quiet. And nobody is breathing because they're just desperate to hear the truth of this story. They want to hear this story. They want to be in on the truth, in on the honesty. They want to know about the story, the pain, the mistakes, and the lies. They want to feel that they are that close to the truth. They want to feel the honesty in the room. And I said, I did find honesty in prison at these events. And that's what makes those events so special to me. But it's not easy to evoke that honesty, nor is it easy for the people in prison, men and women in prison, to show that honesty sometimes. It's engagement and curiosity that Penned Up aims to bring in to the prison. But putting people in a room is a relatively easy task compared to creating an atmosphere where people feel curious, interested, and engaged, where they're absorbed by what is being told to them. We had an author, Charlie Mortimer, author of a book of letters called Dear Lupin. And the event got off to a sort of a shaky start. Charlie's a little bit nervous. And then he kind of dropped in that he had been one of the very first people to be diagnosed with AIDS back in the 1980s. Again, the room goes really, really quiet. This might be an honesty too much. This is not generally the space where that conversation takes place. The library was completely silent. And then a man from the back asked him, how did you feel when you got that diagnosis? And Charlie said, it was a death sentence. And the man in the back said, yes, that's just how I felt when I got my life sentence. At that moment, everybody started breathing again, and this unexpected bridge was built. We've had some great moments over the last few years. We've had about 150 events across the festivals. one festival we had, Kit Duvall, the author Kit Duvall, came in and she was talking about adoption. And there was a man in the front row, just really close to her. And he edged forward and he just whispered that his children had been taken into care. We had a great moment when Billy Bragg came in and he performed one of his songs with the guys in the prison band together on the same stage. When one of the organisers of Glastonbury Festival came in and he was telling us the secrets behind the scenes from that great festival. Men loved that. And then I have to sort of drive a lot of the speakers from the station to the prison, and I get a chance to have a chat with them. And I was bringing a writer, Erwin James. Now, Erwin James, he served 20 years in prison. And he turned to me in the car and he says, David, is there anything I shouldn't say? Are there any boundaries? And I went, no, it's fine. Say what you want. I crossed my fingers. It was a great event. During the festival, I mean, it's 2 weeks. Time becomes incredibly intense as you move from event to event, space to space. And it's enough to keep juggle all the events, but you've got all the rules of a prison as well to deal with. But the bonus thing is, the reward is, all these new ideas get talked about. And it's like this new kind of weather. A change of weather comes to the prison. As one tutor said, well, it's absolutely crazy, but it's brilliant crazy. And things do go wrong. 2 weeks is a long time for a festival. And in a prison, there could be a lockdown, there can be cell searches, a key member of your team could be shipped out to another prison and you will have no notice. It's not a scripted reality show. There's no edits to hide when things go wrong. But when things do go wrong, as a team, we have to work through those things. The reality of it. And actually, sometimes the working through of the things that have gone wrong is as important as the success. Because in real life, when things go wrong, you just have to work through it. You can't edit it out. We're about to launch our 7th Penned Up at HMP Downview, women's prison. We ran it there a couple of years ago. It was a big success. It was our first time, though, in a women's prison, and that's quite a different atmosphere to the men's prisons we worked in. And afterwards, one of the women on the committee said, you come into a place like this, a prison, and you lose hope. But this, which meant penned up, changes that. Thank you.